there's a guy that's a Republican named, he's a senator, Cramer of North Dakota. And he made a statement a couple of weeks ago when Trump first opened his filthy mouth about he wants to be dictator, but only for a day. Senator Cramer said that Trump was not being funny. Those are his words, not being funny about governing as a dictator. Now, according to Senator Cramer, I've got to stop saying the word now. Sometimes I listen to myself on the recordings. I just go, God, stop it. Okay. Now, okay. We know that Donald Trump meant about what he said about being a dictator, because we have as an example his first term and what happened after his loss in 2020. We also know he's not joking because he has an army of these Nazi Christians who are hell-bent on carrying out the authoritarian agenda, the Hitler-esque agenda of Donald Trump. And one of their targets, one of their primary targets, please understand this, is the Christianization, how's that for a word, of the federal government, especially the Department of Health and Human Services. That agenda, what they plan on doing with HHS, is laid out in the Heritage Foundation's, they put out a paper called Mandate for Leadership 2025, The Conservative Promise. This is nearly 1,000-page document, according to NBC. And that document was cited in recent media coverage as the blueprint for what the orange bastard has in mind for all of us. Now, keep in mind that the orange bastard does not come up with these ideas on his own. As a matter of fact, it's a good guess whether or not the son of a bitch can even read or has the focus power to stay focused on anything for more than 5 minutes. However, he does have quite a group of American Nazis whispering into his ear, telling him what to say, what to do, how to read the teleprompter. And one of the biggest forces for fascist authoritarianism in this country is the Heritage Foundation. Heritage Foundation. What a name, right? As it was in Trump's first term, Health and Human Services will be the main driving force to impose, now understand this, impose the Christian Nazi agenda on all of us. And according to MSNBC, they're going to do it under the guise of, quote, protecting the conscience and religious freedom of people who oppose abortion and the rights of LGBTQ people. This is, to me, it is beyond frightening. It is beyond frightening. As a matter of fact, it's downright terrifying. Let me share with you something you probably have heard in various sources. This blueprint put together by the Heritage Foundation has resulted in a lot of unfavorable stories. And because of that, the Trump re-election campaign, or the Trump re-election campaign has tried to say, oh, no, we don't really mean that. Just like he tried to do after he talked about being dictator for just a day. You know, I want to build a wall and dig. The author of this paper, the Heritage Foundation's paper on the Department of Health and Human Services, is a former Trump appointee named Roger Severino. And during the Orange Bastard's presidency, Severino, was the director, don't laugh, of the Health and Human Services Office of Civil Rights. I said don't laugh. Now he is at the Heritage Foundation, this American Nazi bastard, Severino. He is a long-time anti-abortion and anti-LGBTQ rights activist who, according to MSNBC, back in 2018, quote, used his political appointment and coordinated support from outside organizations to create a new enforcement structure in the agency, and it was entitled the Conscience and Religious Freedom Division. Notice how these son of a bitches keep using the word freedom or justice or civil rights, huh? All of which are terms that have been totally bastardized and corrupted by these monsters. Anyway, at a launch event at Health and Human Services headquarters, when he put this together, this bastard Severino said, quote, "We are institutionalizing a change in the culture of government, beginning with Health and Human Services. We shall never forget that religious freedom is primary freedom, and it is a civil right that deserves complete enforcement and respect," end quote. Okay, now, let's be clear here. I've made it very clear that I believe in religious freedom. If somebody wants to worship a goddamn moldy sock, go ahead. I don't give a shit what people worship. You can worship an organized religion, a disorganized religion. I don't care. But keep your fucking words out of my face, my government, my ears, my children. Keep it out of everything except in your own twisted little mind. And if you want to get together with other twisted little minds to have your weekly or daily or monthly or whatever worship services, go for it. I don't give a shit. I don't care. But keep it away from me and stop telling me that I am going to burn in hell if I don't believe the same stupid mythological crap that you believe. I'm not talking to you, gentle listener, you know, but that's my position. So when they talk, when this asshole Severino says that it's a civil right, religious freedom, they're talking about the freedom of Christian Nazis to force everybody else to believe exactly, if not believe exactly what they believe, but to act as though we all do. To pretend that these Christian Nazis are the end-all, be-all of governance where it concerns the righteous way to do things. Is this some happy horse shit or what? Well, it would be, and it would be highly comedic, except for the fact that it is monumentally dangerous. Now, he was bragging the other day that, well, I guess when he was had that office inside Department of Health and Human Services, the Conscience and Religious Freedom Division. But he was bragging that division was not only open for business, but he urged the Christian Nazis in this country to encourage the Christian morons in this country to file administrative complaints with the agency, charging that a hospital policy or a state law in a blue state protecting abortion access violated their religious convictions. Oh, I live in a state where women have privacy. That violates my religious convictions. Please, Health and Human Services, especially Conscience and Religious Freedom Division, please make these miserable fuckers stop. Let's give them some freedom. The freedom to think what I think. Woo! Now, a lot of people complied with that bullshit because if there's anything that Christians are compelled to do from the moment they're forced into this fucked up religion, is to obey what their superiors tell them to obey, especially if it comes from a religious leader. Obey. Or, that's your choice. You don't want to obey, your ass is going to burn in hell. Forever! And God won't like you. So a lot of people complied, and this Severino prick and his allies used that increase in number of complaints as evidence that the creation of his new division filled a need, a vital need among us Americans, that we had to have some place to go to complain about these left-wing, probably Jewish, and maybe gay son of a bitches were doing to our Christ-centered country. This is this is so sick. This is so fucked up. And I've said before, I hate getting into these rants because I find myself sinking deeper and deeper into this anti-Christian Nazi rants, the rants that I go through, because it is so important to me that we don't fall into this. But it's also important to me because, as I've said many times, I was brought up in this religion, this Christian religion. And I had it explained to me by people who really believed in the goodness of Jesus Christ, who really believed that the message of the rabbi from Nazareth was one of peace and brotherly love and turning the other cheek and all this other stuff. That's not what we're dealing with today. For most of my life, once I realized that religion was a bullshit construct that was designed to control people, and got away from it, I still maintained the observational standpoint of, okay, I have a lot of friends who are Christian. They're either Protestant or Catholic, and some of them are Orthodox. And okay, they're good people. I like them. Some of them I love. I hang out with them. I get drunk with them. I smoke dope with them. I do this. I do that. Everything is fine. And everything was fine. And they used to go to their church, whether it was Protestant or Catholic, on the Sundays or whenever, Wednesday for confession, all that brouhaha. And, okay, that's fine, because they kept it to themselves. And this is the point that I tried to stress. I don't care what you believe in. Just don't get in my face with it. That's all. And I think that's what most Americans want. Now, the Christian Nazis, they take it one step further. If you don't believe, or if you don't profess to believe what they're talking about, you don't have to get in their face. If they hear about you, they will come after your ass, especially now. During the age of the Orange Jesus, they will come after you. And what Severino has in mind is to use government agencies, not just Department of Health and Human Services, but also the Justice Department and maybe the Defense Department, to come after you. And what is the plan? After they get you? Very simple. Put you in maybe a Pol Pot-style re-education camp? Or a Mao-style re-education camp? Now, if the agency that Severino had put together when he was working for the Orange Bastard, if that agency had found liability in these cases, the possible, this is according to MSNBC, the possible penalty could have been denial of federal funding to individual healthcare institutions, and even in the hopes of these Christian Nazis, it would deny health and human service funds to entire states. Think about this for a moment, if you can. Now, that agency within the Department of Health and Human Services, the agency, the Conscience and Religious Freedom Division, it failed the first time around, obviously. But in this new document put together by the Heritage Foundation, the primary Christian Nazi organization in America, it's not the Nazi Party, it's not the Klan, it's not anti-Semitic organizations. The primary Christian fascist movement in this country is the Heritage Foundation, because they're the ones that is the organization populated by attorneys, by former neo-fascist government officials. They know what they're doing. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West, on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.